Hello everyone, welcome to session 65 of Software Testing Made Easy course. In this session, I'm going to explain about verification, validation and their difference. So let's get started. So what exactly is verification? So what exactly is validation? Let me first provide the definitions for verification and validation. Coming to verification, checking whether checking whether we are building the right system is known as verification. Coming to validation, checking whether we are building the checking whether we are building the system right is known as validation. What is the difference between the definitions of the verification and validation here? The only difference is these two words, guys. Here we are checking whether we are building the right system. Here we are checking whether we are building the system right. The two words are reversed here. Okay, right is coming first here, right is coming next year. But what exactly are these definitions, guys? Okay, in order to understand these definitions, you need to understand this real world example, guys. Let's say you stay at this particular place and you want to travel to another place. Okay, this is a destination where you have to travel. But unfortunately, you don't know the route for traveling from the source to the required destination. So what you will do, guys? In that case, okay, in that case, you will search for this destination in the Google Maps, right? You'll take the help of the Google Maps. So Google Maps, when you browse for this destination, before you actually start journey to this destination, what you will do in the Google Maps? You will type this destination and search. And Google Maps will suggest you, okay? Google Maps will suggest you some route, guys. Some better route it will suggest. So before you start your journey, you will check whether the Google Maps has suggested you a proper route or not. This process of verifying whether the proper route is provided before you start journey is known as verification. Okay, this process is known as verification. Then what about validation, guys? What about validation? Let's say using this verified route, when you start your journey on your car or bike, okay, into your destination direction, and if the Google Map is properly guiding you to take left, right, and then make a U-turn and all according to this map, according to this route, if the Google Maps is suggesting you and taking you to the proper direction or not, that process of checking whether you are going in the proper direction while traveling is known as validation. This is a real world example, guys. The same thing can be applied for the software testing. Okay, this example in terms of verification and validation can be applied to the software testing, so that you will finally understand what is the right system and what is system right. Okay, after I explain this. So coming to the verification, guys, coming to the verification. So here, before the software is developed, okay, before software is running, running in the sense, for example, like before the software is developed and running, that means, for example, there is an application like this. Okay, so have the developers already developed this application or not? Is there some code written behind this application or not? Is application running, right? We can use the application, it's live, right? This application is live. So before this application is ready, okay, before the software is ready or running, then we'll perform verification, guys. How can we perform verification when software itself is not running? Okay, when the software is not available, when the software is not available, you are doing this verification process. How can you do verification process before software is ready? So as part of verification, guys, you will perform, what you will do is you will perform checking. Okay, you will check the documents like this. What are the different documents you will check? You will go through the BRS document, you will go to the SRS document, you will go through the plans, okay, design documents, okay, design docs or files, and you'll go through the plans and test matrix, okay, okay, traceability matrix, and then test cases documents, etc., and etc. All these documents you will go through, guys. Okay, you'll read these documents, you'll check the documents by reading them. What's the intention of checking and reading, guys? With the intention of finding some defects here. Okay, are there any defects available in these documents? This process of checking whether there are any defects in these documents or not is part of the verification process, guys. In the verification, guys, let's say the application is not ready. Let's say the application is not ready, but okay, application is not ready, but some code is written by the developers. Okay, some code in some Java or Python language or whatever language is written by the developers, let's say. So not only reading the documents, guys, we, as part of verification, we can also read the code. We can also read the written code to see whether it is following some standards or not, Okay, like that. So this process is known as verification, guys. Mostly this reading of the code will be done by the developers as part of verification, and mostly the checking of these documents and all things will be done by the testers. Okay, so here only testers are not doing the verification, guys. Both developers and testers and other team members or project members are doing the verification process. But why verification is required, guys? Why we have to check all these documents and all? And how we can check these documents and all? Is there any process? Yes. As part of the process, speaking about the process as part of the verification, right? Generally, we will conduct reviews, walkthroughs, okay, as part of verification process. Okay, what will be conducted in the project, guys? Reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections. These three will be arranged. I'll explain more about this reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections in the upcoming sessions, guys. But for now, understand by using these reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections, what we'll do, guys? We'll go through the documents with an intention of verifying these documents and we'll verify the code. We'll just read the code, guys. We'll not run the code here. Okay, as part of verification, we are not going to run the code here. Running is not there, guys. Okay, running of the code is not there. Only it's like a static kind of thing, guys, where nothing is run, no code is run. Only the documents and developed code will be there before you, and we'll conduct these reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections. By using this reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections kind of thing, so the required people, testers or developers or other team members, will go through the documents or code and find out the mistakes, and that is defects in the either in the documents or requirements, or in the requirements or other documents or in the code. So what is the end product of the doing this verification? Here, by doing this, we are checking whether we are building the right system or not. Okay, correct system or not. So what will happen if you don't do this verification? Okay, if you do the verification, you are checking whether we are building the right system or not. But if you don't do this verification process by going through these documents or by reading this code or whatever it is, instead of, if you are not finding the mistakes inside these documents or something, what will happen, guys? We will result in a we may result, okay, it is not compulsory, we may result in developing a wrong system, wrong product, wrong software, whatever it is. Okay, so if this requirements and everything is right, then only the correct system will be developed. If not, we'll develop a wrong system, okay, which is not according to the requirements. We'll develop a system. This process is known as verification, guys. Okay, this process is known as verification. Checking whether we are building the right system is known as verification. To perform verification, we follow all this process: reviews, walkthroughs, inspection of this documents and code, without running the code, guys. Before running the code itself, we'll do this. But what about validation, guys? What about validation? Okay, what about validation? Let me explain. Give me a second. So let me clear out all this stuff. So in terms of validation, guys, okay, here we are checking whether we are building the system right. Okay, here we are checking whether we are building the system in a right manner or not. That means that means we will perform testing on the developed code. How can we perform testing on the developed code? There are different ways, guys. We can either perform unit testing, we can perform integration testing, we can perform system testing, then we can perform user acceptance testing also. Okay, so there are different ways of performing validation, where we'll check whether we are building the system right. Whatever the software that is developed, okay, whatever the software development code that is written is working correctly or not. Okay, we have to check whether the developed code for building the software is working correctly or not. So as part of checking whether the developed code is working correctly or not, we'll perform unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Generally, unit testing and integration testing are done by the developers, right? Developers will be doing this. Coming to the system testing, it will be done by testers. So generally, user acceptance testing will be done by the customers, real customers. Okay, customers will be doing this, right? Mostly customers will be doing the user acceptance testing. Testers will be doing system testing. Unit testing and integration testing will be done by the developers. So here we are checking whether whatever that got developed is working correctly or not. The system is correctly getting developed or not. System is right or not. Okay, fine. So what will happen if validation is not done? It will result in buggy product, guys. Okay, buggy software will be released into the market where, for example, if one of the functionality is not working, let's say there is a login functionality in that some username field is there, password field is there, and some login button is there. Even though you provide the proper credentials like proper valid username and valid password and click on the login button, what is happening? Let's say this button is not working. That means the code that was written beside this, okay, behind this particular logic is not working. There's some defect in the code, buggy code, okay, buggy software. So the login itself is not working. That is a defect, right? So this will happen if you don't perform validation. Validation is a process of checking like this, guys. Checking whether the system is correctly working or not, whether the developed system, okay, here, whether the developed system is working correctly or not. Here example is, let's say this system is already developed. This tutorials.com/demo application is already developed. You can directly go to the login page and check whether we are able to log in or not. Okay. This process of verification or checking, this process of checking is known as validation, guys. This process of checking whether the system is correctly working or not is known as validation. Okay. So here verification is checking whether we are building the right system before the system got developed or before the system is running. We'll check by conducting some walkthroughs, reviews, and inspections to go through the different BRS, SRS, and all those other documents and code to say whether we are building the right system. Okay, wrong product should not be developed at the end of the software. This is the objective of the verification. Coming to the validation, the objective is to make sure that whatever the system that we are building is correctly working or not according to the user needs, it is there or not. It's not only about checking whether it is functioning or not. It's also about checking whether whatever the software that got developed is according to the user needs. Okay, it's according to the user needs or not, or is also part of the validation testing only. Validation only, guys. Okay, validation only. So as part of validation, we'll perform unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing. I'll explain more about these terms in the upcoming sessions, guys. Okay, unit, integration, system, and user acceptance testing. Fine. Generally, we do system testing, guys. Whatever the testing we perform on the real applications, right? That is known as full system is known as system testing. Here we are performing the testing, right? We'll provide some terms like iPhone or something and search and see whether the iPhone is coming or not. This testing is known as system testing. The same testing is done by the customers. It's known as user acceptance testing. Okay, there are different levels of user acceptance testing. I'll explain that later. Coming to unit and integration, generally they are done at the code level. Developers will run the unit level code and okay, by passing some values and see whether that particular unit code is working or not. Okay, here also they are testing it. Developers integration means clubbing multiple units of code and then checking whether they are working together, they are running together or not. Here you are running the code, guys. Okay, in case of validation you are running the code, but in case of verification, okay, in case of verification you are not running the code, you are just checking the requirements and all those other stuff. Okay, to see whether you are building the right system. Verification to see whether you are building the system right correctly or not, okay, without bugs or not. That is system, that is validation. Is there any other thing I need to cover as part of this? I think I covered almost everything, guys. In most of both the cases, guys, in case of either in case of verification or validation, complete verification is not done by testers, complete validation is not done by testers. Okay, here in case of verification also, testers, developers, and other team members will be part of the verification. That is reviews, walkthroughs, and inspections. Coming to validation also, like unit testing, integration is done by the developers, and system testing is done by testers, user acceptance testing by customers. So different people are involved in verification and validation case. Fine. So you know the objective, right? Objective of the verification is to check whether we are building the correct product or not. Okay, that is right system or not, correct system or not. But coming to the validation, the objective is to check whether whatever we are building is will work correctly or not. Okay, is going to work correctly or not, will function correctly or not. The system right, that we call that as system right. So I already gave the example, guys, right? For example, for the validation I gave, where login button, for example, there is a login page, and on that login button when you click, so here when you go to the application and you are clicking here. Okay, when you're clicking the login button here, okay, when you're clicking the login button, if the login button is not working, that's part of validation test or verification test. Since you are running the code, okay, here the application is running on the running because some code is running on the backside, right? So this will fall into the validation. Whereas checking whether, okay, before that particular application page got developed, by checking the requirements and other stuff to see whether the proper design is made, proper requirements are written for creating that login page and all, right? That process is known as verification. Okay, checking whether the system is getting developed according to the requirements. Okay, requirements or designs or test plans, test case, etc is known as verification. Checking whether we are building the right system is known as verification, guys, simple terms. So hope guys, this is all about the verification and validation. Hope you already understood what exactly is explained in this session, right? So this was a detailed session about the verification and validation, guys. So that's it, guys. Thank you. Bye.